So welcome everyone. So my name is Majida, and I'm the program manager at Ikahi Mediation Center. Welcome all of you to our annual Kakou Let's Work It Out workshop series. We appreciate you being here. So before we get started, just to go over a few technical details. So this talk is being recorded. We have it on the setting that only the speaker is being recorded. So if you are a bit shy, there's no worry. You won't get on video. We'd like to see your lovely live faces. So please do turn on your video. And it's also understandable if you prefer not to. So either is fine. You are muted when you come into the room, but you do have the ability to mute and unmute yourself. So just please be mindful that there's quite a bit of people in the room. And if you're unmuted, then we can hear what's going on around you. So just be mindful of that. If you could please rename yourself so that we may know who you are. You can do so by just finding in the participant list your device name, and in the participant list you hover over it and you can just see that you can find if you hover over it, it'll go rename, and then you can rename yourself. And if you're having any trouble renaming yourself, you can send me a message in the chat box, and you can tell me your name and I can rename you. Okay.
Majida, I also discovered that if you right-click over your name, even in this gallery view, it offers you a rename option.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Tim.
Quick and easier, yeah.
So for those of you, it looks like most folks are renamed, but just in case, to rename yourself. But thank you, Tim. So there will be opportunities during this presentation for you to comment and ask questions. But at any point, you can always use the chat box to ask questions or comment. Okay, and that's down at the bottom there. If you hover over the bottom of your Zoom screen, you'll be able to see an option in more to chat. So just about our organization, about Ikahi Mediation Center. So we're a nonprofit community mediation center. We serve East Hawaii. So we were founded in 1983 as a program of the YMCA. And in 2006, we became our own independent nonprofit. So what we do, we empower people to come together, to talk, to listen, to explore options, and to find their own best solutions. To achieve this mission, we offer mediation, facilitation, and training to strengthen the ability of diverse individuals and groups to resolve interpersonal conflicts and community issues. This is the 5th Kakou Let's Work It Out workshop series, workshop talk that we've had, and it is a collaboration. It really truly is a collaboration between the County of Hawaii Office of the Prosecuting Attorney, between us, the Mediation Center, from the Rotary Club of Hilo to the Rotary Club of Hilo Bay to the Rotary Club of South Hilo, the Rotary Club of Volcano, UH-Hilo, the Political Science and Administration of Justice Department, and the UH-Hilo International Student Services and Intercultural Education Office. So this is the first time we've had it online. We usually have it at the UH-Hilo building, but we are adapting. So it's nice to have you all in this room and in this space. Just to mention some of the organizers, Tim Hansen, who said hi earlier, he is one of the organizers and a part of the Office of the Prosecuting Attorney. Eric Anderson and Charlene Iboshi are both Rotary Club members. Sumi Lee is not here. She's on sabbatical. She usually helps with this. And so Sumi Lee and Jim Mellon are not here, but they're both organizers from UH-Hilo. So like I said, this workshop truly is a collaboration amongst our community organizations. And it's really to better enable people to communicate effectively and work through their problems in our community. So Charlene Iboshi is going to give us a talk just to let us know about the folks that were in here earlier that got to see this nice little slideshow of all the peace polls in our community. And Charlene, would you tell us a little bit more about that? Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you. So just to let everyone know, East Hawaii's Rotary clubs, including the 5 regular clubs, as well as our Internet Peace Club, as well as our satellite club, joined forces in the past 5 years so that we could work on peace. So that's why we call it the East Hawaii Rotary Club's Peace Committee. We probably should shorten it. But for the past 5 years, we've had this Kakou workshop so that we could talk about, let's work it out. So that's why it's a workshop series. But we have a special project we're working on right now. It's called the Peace Poll Project, and we plan to map out all the peace polls on this island. We will have a map. We plan to have an app. And hopefully, if COVID lifts, we will have perhaps a peace poll pilgrimage once we can do a little more traveling. But for those of you who might not know, the peace pole is really a symbol that displays the message, may peace prevail on earth. You know, it's a very clear message. The language normally is printed in the language of the country in which it's installed, and on the face of the peace pole, they'll have different languages, and they'll have at least 4 languages on the peace pole, and it'll say peace prevail, may peace prevail on earth in at least 4 languages, and sometimes more than that. So there'll be 13 additional languages. So the idea of the peace polls was first thought up by Masahisa Goi in Japan in 1955. That was a long time ago. So it started then, but then in 1983 is when they launched to have the peace polls worldwide. So now there are over 200,000 peace polls all over the world in nearly 200 countries. It's pretty amazing. So the peace poll they're made of many different materials. Many are made of wood, actually, limestone, and there's one in Atu that's titanium. So it can be made of any material. And it can be painted, etched with the words, may peace prevail on earth. So last year, for those of you who saw the earlier slideshow, we commemorated a peace poll, and we installed a peace poll because the Open World delegation came from Russia on a Rotary International exchange, and they were studying renewable energy and sustainability. So our island was the perfect location for that kind of research. So to commemorate them coming last year, we had the peace poll. We showed the peace poll at the last Kakou, the 4th annual Kakou workshop. And so everybody got to touch it and get involved with it. And so we do have pictures of the installation itself. So if at the end, if anybody wants to see that, we'll have that as well. So again, we're going to identify all the peace polls on our island. And if you know of any, or if you're going to install any, let us know so we can make sure we can keep it current. So again, the peace poll project, we're going to complete this year, and then we want to launch it so that the community can benefit from it. So the goal is to have peace in your heart, your individual heart, and then may peace be in our communities, and then may peace be in the world. So that's a very simple message to all of us. And that's why we're here for the Kakou workshop as well. Now I'd like to introduce our speaker for Rotary. Her name is Nancy Cabral. She is the current president of the Hilo Club, which is the oldest club on this island. She's by the way, Nancy is not the oldest member. She's just the president of the oldest club. But she has been very active in the community. Most people know Nancy. Everybody knows Nancy, and she's been 37 years in real estate and rental and property development and management. That's a long time, Nancy.
Yeah.
But she's going to give us a little history of the Hilo Club, because this is their 100th year anniversary. It's amazing. And she's going to have some good information for you. You'll get chicken skin, as they say.
Yeah,
Okay, Nancy.
we got a few good ones. Thank you, Charlene, and thank you everybody for all the efforts. It's amazing how many different things are going on, in a sense, simultaneously, obviously around the world, but even in our little community of Hilo on our big island, just so many great things are happening. So I'm going to try not to talk too much because I know I'm capable of doing that. The Rotary Club of Hilo was first organized and it became chartered with the International Association of Rotary Clubs, as it was then known, on December 1, 1920. At that time, we were the 795th club, and I didn't look up how many thousands there are now. Doug's here, he'll know. So the Rotary Club had just started in Chicago in 1905, and at that time, it started in Chicago and then was established in many of the primary important cities in the United States, and also had been spread to England and Scotland, followed by clubs at that time in Cuba, South America, China, Japan, and India. And I'm taking this from an article I found in the Hawaii Herald from Friday, January 23rd, 1921. So they had their first meeting after they first got their charter and they're recognized. They had their first meeting on January 22nd, it looks like, 1921. And at that time, Carl Smith was the first president. And so I want to read some of these things because it's kind of interesting what a long ways we've come. Even though it's taken 100 years. The guest speaker from Honolulu, President Graves of the Honolulu Club, who they chartered, where's my notes? I think just a few years before that. Honolulu Club was the first club in Hawaii. Hilo is the second club. So he talks about how he's addressing the point, pointing out that the city of Hilo has passed beyond the simplicity of small towns and is now taking on the complexity of urban life. And he went on to worry about the dangers to be met, included that this will bring its train with the ugly possibilities of political corruption and civil unrighteousness. He goes on and says that in review, that you need to be worried about the political machine that could be at work in your community. So interesting how we avoid politics, but that was their big concern then. Also, it went about the objectives of that was to promote the idea that, because everything at that time was really focused around your business. So it was different business people brought in. So it was the promotion of the idea that business and having an occupation is to also help with service to the public, and that it should help promote the idea that legitimate business can be carried on without being selfish. So that was the promotion at that time, that you can own a business. So clearly businesses were not too well thought of. And it took on already at that time, the theme was service above self. And that each club is interpreted, each club is supposed to help enforce the laws, handling of building of roads, public improvements, the economy, in help with the economy and public expenditures, promotion of education, work among boys, civic education, and that would all make a Rotarian city a better place to live. I thought it was interesting. They're only worried about boys working in 1920. So that was one of it. So it became, we were the second. There was fines that evening. Everyone that did not have their lapel pin on was fined 50 cents. So I thought that was they collected $3. So, but I wanted to read on because the club went on from 1920 And then one of the high points of this, kind of trying to stay in chronological order, was that during the occupation of Japan, obviously after World War II, Carl Smith, the prior president, who had also been the district governor at one time, he wrote a letter to General Douglas MacArthur, commander of the occupation forces. And Carl Smith suggested that restoring the Rotary movement in Japan could help foster world peace and bring Japan back into the international fold. General MacArthur replied to Carl Smith, and he was in favor of that idea. Carl Smith then forwarded this information to Rotary International, who at the 1949-1950 Rotary International Conference, that they went ahead and took in and had a worldwide audience of Rotarians who welcomed the Japanese representative back into Rotary. And so they had been a member before, and then they were out during the war, and they got welcomed back. And I try not to cry. It was such an emotional ceremony that representatives from Japan, the representative from Japan was embraced by Carl Romulus of the Philippines, and the entire audience gave a standing ovation. So that's, to me, one of our best accomplishments, little did we know. And then going onward, and of course, so many things happen in so many different ways and throughout the years of the history, because we're putting our history together for our 100th celebration, which will be part of our Rotary District Conference in May 14, 15, and 16, 2021. But onward to 1970-71, during the term when Russ Oda, our president, was president of Rotary, he went on to establish a sister club relationship with the Rotary Club of Hiroshima South. And that relationship has now endured 50 years. So we have been sister clubs with them for 50 full years right now. And over those years, hundreds of Hilo Rotarians have traveled to visit the club in Japan, and likewise, hundreds of members from Hiroshima South have come to the Big Island. They have continued this friendship, and at one point, which is the picture I have here, over the years, we've established a special foundation called the WADA Foundation as part of our club. And since oh boy, where did I put that date? Alberta will help me. Anyway, we have put in, we have sent
1945.
Yeah, well, 45 is when they came on, but we established the WADA Foundation, and every other year we send two students from Hawaii go to Japan, and then 2 years later, 2 students from Japan come here, and that's been going on for 50 years, since the beginning, obviously. So we have now sent 50 Japanese students have come to Hawaii, and 50 have come from Hawaii to Japan. So the bond of that type of exchange program, that's with Japan itself. And then in addition, I received, I should have had this prepped, but this is a picture of dogwood trees. And those trees in Japan, in Hiroshima, those seeds and seedlings were sent from, many of those were sent from our club in 2004 and were planted then. And so they just sent me these pictures, or sent our club these pictures a few months ago, that they have now are 16-year-old trees and are blooming, and they are seen as a symbol of peace and friendship between Japan and the United States. So that is something that's been going on for a long time with our club and with even our current club members. In addition, in terms of foreign exchange students, our club has participated in the youth exchange, and I did not think of that early enough to find out how many, but we've had dozens, even during my time in the club, dozens of students come from other countries. For a while, we had one every year, and we have sent many to help finance many students going to other countries. And that's been all over the world. In fact, one of the young men that was our exchange student here from Brazil is still really good friends, and we get photos, and many of our club members still, they literally go to Brazil to visit him, you know, and now he's I think recently gotten married. We get little news blurbs about him and stuff. So that type of ongoing friendship will in fact probably do more for world peace than anything else in the world. So we've been, you know, our club again has been trying to be a member of the community. And I think a lot of it in our case in Hawaii and in Hilo especially, we're really unique in the fact that because we are a pretty successful melting pot of different cultures and different ideas, and so many people in our city here still have family members and connections in other parts of the world. That the better, happier somebody is in our community and the knowledge they bring from another location can really help foster that idea of peace throughout the world. You know, I think it's sort of lack of knowledge creates fear, and, you know, and then fear creates hate, and, you know, that. And so I think that that's one of the reasons we are so successful. So
well, thank you, Nancy, because that's amazing. You know, that just goes to show how, you know, how much the Rotary has been collaborating, not just in our community, but also around the world. And that's 100 years. So thank you for sharing that. So we're just we have another speaker, our workshop presenter, Ilihia Gionson, who's our workshop presenter. He's one of the folks in our community who has been bringing people together through stories and values that we share. So he has worked as a writer and a producer in print television journalism with local and statewide outlets in both English and Hawaiian. He has done the private sector, and he does government relations on both the federal, the state, and the county levels. So for over a decade, he has served clients in energy, government and politics, and hospitality through his being a principal at Hiehie Communications. He's also a new father, but he really focuses on sharpened an initiative to build a sustainable and equitable future for Hawaii. So he is the board chair at the Hawaii Island United Way. So another connection that we're having and a collaboration that we're bringing in. And he is also involvement with the Hawaii Green Growth and the I Ke Aloha Economic Futures Movement. So Ilihia, welcome.
Aloha. Mahalo to you, Majida, for both your invitation to share this evening as well as putting the program together and the introduction. Mahalo to you, Charlene, Tim, Eric. Mahalo for having me. And aloha to everybody who's here. Mahalo for joining up on a Friday evening. Let me just get my screen share prepped real quick. Okay. So tonight, I'm going to talk about I Ke Aloha, standing, being firm in your aloha for something, for someone, for someplace. And one person who said it really well was Archbishop Shinjo Ito, who's the Buddhist master who started the Shinyo-en practice of Buddhism, from which we see the lantern floatings in memory of our deceased family members and friends. And Archbishop Ito said, in order to truly understand another person's perspective, we must first breathe the same air, right? When we get to a place where we understand where one another is coming from, then we can move forward together to resolve the conflicts that may lie in front of us. And so I wanted to start with a question. We'll go around the room for anyone who wants to share. Who is the one person in the world who inspires you most? And you can either drop that into chat, or if anyone wants to unmute and share the one person in the world who inspires them the most. Hoping not to call on anybody. But. Anybody want to jump in? Oh, Doug, I saw your wife. I will be sure to let her know that that was your answer. What we have on the chat? Rebecca, Jane Goodall, thank you for that. Tim, your newly born child. That's awesome. Hard to beat that.
Actually, not my personal newly born child, but any newly born child. I want to stop the rumors before they begin.
Got it. Nancy, your father. So lots of close family members. Lots of close family members. And so as we go through the evening, I want you to remember that feeling of aloha that you have for that person. The next question is, what is the one place in the world that inspires you the most? Could be a very specific place. Tiffany, you said Hawaii. Susan, you agree? Lots of love for our Hawaii here. Melissa, any sunset? That's beautiful. Julie, wild places in nature. Sheena, sunrise, sunset. Ooh, Kilauea Summit. Mulivai. Oh, Nancy on horseback. Good one. Sunrise, water. Well, that's an interesting one, Tiffany. Thinking of those places that are maybe not as peaceful and not as resolved to solve conflicts together as we are here. Mahalo for sharing all of that. So this is my answer to both questions. This is my daughter, Kawai Pomaikai. She is both the person who inspires me the most, and being with her wherever it is the place that inspires me the most. And you know, it's her love for people and places and experiences, and just her energy and her curiosity about the world around her that really inspires me. And so when I think of aloha, I think of my daughter Kawai. And so, I Ke Aloha. When we approach issues with a clear vision and focus, grounded in aloha for the people and places affected by the issue, we can express our values and our concerns in a productive way. And Dr. Martin Luther King said that people fail to get along because they fear each other. And they fear each other because they don't know each other. And they don't know each other because they've not communicated with each other. And so what I put forth to you tonight is that to resolve any kinds of conflict, we have to communicate with one another. But what we communicate needs to be clear, have a clear clarity of vision, and be grounded in aloha. So tonight, I'm going to share two contemporary examples of Hawaii movements with a clear vision and focus that are grounded in aloha. Whether or not you agree with these movements, I ask you to put that on the side for the evening, because what I'd like to share is the clarity of vision, the focus of these movements to help us understand why they were so successful. And so we'll start with this one. So what we saw there was part of a chant composed out of aloha for Mauna Kea. And people express their aloha for Mauna Kea in very different ways. Some people have a vision of Mauna Kea as a place that has nothing on it. Some people have a vision of Mauna Kea where it's a portal where we see things that we cannot see only with our eyes. And whichever side of that you agree with, again, I ask you put that on the side because we're just gonna look at the clarity of vision that some folks have expressed. And so if we look into the 2009 Mauna Kea Comprehensive Management Plan, which is a document that the University of Hawaii produced to guide future development on Mauna Kea. It says Mauna Kea is sacred, where heaven, earth, and stars find union. Not just any heaven, but Wakea, not just any earth, but Papahana Moku, and not just any constellation of twinkling lights, but Ho'ohoku Kalani, whose children descend and return to the stars. And so there's agreement on multiple sides that Mauna Kea is a very special place. Some folks believe that that special place can be made even more special by constructing the latest cutting edge piece of technology from which we can see even deeper into the past of our universe to understand better where we came from and where we're headed. Other folks have put forth and made it very clear that they kukia imauna, that they stand in protection of the mountain. And what I appreciate about the clarity of that vision is in 3 words, they've encapsulated a movement. A movement that, about which people feel so passionate that they have chained themselves to cattle grates, ready to be arrested. Folks have actually gotten arrested, some people multiple times. And yet within all this, maintain the level of respect for one another. Understanding that we all live in one community, that we all need to continue to live in this community together. And so they were able to respectfully disagree without compromising on that basic vision of kukia imauna. And so, as you all know, it grew over the years, over the months, over the weeks. It grew in different places, not only on Hawaii Island at the base of Mauna Kea, but also in Waikiki and many points beyond. What remained consistent, it even made its way onto the stage of the Naho Kuhanohano Awards last weekend, where multiple pieces of musical work were awarded, music that was inspired by this movement of kukia imauna. And in fact, it had even inspired kama'aina of other places to articulate their desire to protect the places special to them, whether it was in Kahuku, Waimanalo, this week on Maui. And so this very simple vision became something that inspired many people. And all of this comes back to aloha for one mountain.
Kakou, alana kilana.
promise that's the most controversial we're going to talk about today. The next vision and movement that I'd like to talk about starts with one word, malama. To malama means to care for, to preserve, and to nurture. Depending on how you use the word, it's to keep or observe, like the kakou, to serve, to honor. I mean, the person entrusted to care for something or somebody. And one kama'aina of Hawaii Island, Senator Kenneth Brown, in the 1970s, gave a speech that has become, in a lot of ways, the leading text on this value of malama. And he wrote then in 1973 that malama is an imperative that's applicable to our entire lives in Hawaii, to everything we do with each other and with the rest of the world. And that each of these transactions must meet the test of malama at all times, without exception. And Senator Brown's thoughts on malama launched many voyages, one of which was actually on a canoe. So Hokule'a's Malama Honua worldwide voyage was inspired in part by Kenneth Brown's work. And it was a voyage where the crew hoped to make connections around the world of people who would build a healthier, more sustainable future for the entire world. And that voyage actually launched from Hilo in 2014. So lots of folks came out to wish the canoe well on its voyage. Launched from Palekai, just behind the Hilo breakwater near the harbor. Thousands of people were there to see Hokule'a and her sister ship I Ke Aloha off. And off they went to go around the world.
To us to go around the world has this enormous potential to go to 40, 50 countries on the planet, to be with the great navigators on Earth. And I'm not talking about those in canoes. I'm talking about those who are doing things to give kindness and compassion to the Earth and those who live on it. Those navigators. We're not going to change the world, but we're going to go and build a network of people around the Earth who are going to change it. And our job is to help them be successful.
And we should all be very proud that that voyage launched from right here on Hawaii Island. All told, the Malama Honua voyage visited 150 ports, 18 nations, touched over 100,000 people to connect our island around the value, or to connect our world around the value of malama. And while Hokule'a was out to sea, the leaders of Hawaii signed a document called the Aloha Plus Challenge, which laid out a number of ambitious sustainability and societal goals for us. And I did see earlier we had Mayor Billy Kinoya on the call. Aloha to you. And the 6 goals were pretty simple. Maybe achieving them wasn't simple, but the goals were simple. We're going to hit 70% clean energy, double our local food production, reverse natural resource loss, reduce the solid waste that we produce, increase livability and resilience in the environment, and increase green jobs and education. And that work was recognized by the United Nations, which later designated Hawaii one of the leaders in moving our world to a more sustainable situation. So there's the designation of the hub, the recommitment of Hawaii's leaders in 2019. And what they were committing to was something that had since Hawaii signed the Aloha Plus Challenge, the Sustainable Development Goals were agreed upon by the members of the United Nations. And for us in Hawaii, understanding how dependent our economy is on tourism, it was important to work to bring tourism in alignment with reaching these goals. And so when the Hawaii Tourism Authority adopted their new strategic plan in the beginning of 2020, they wrote in it language that would be surprising for a tourism strategic plan at any other time in our history. But in this plan, the board adopted language that understood the reciprocal nature of our relationship to land is that we must care for our resources so the land will care for us, malama. And that in this relationship, people must dedicate time and resources to the well-being of the land so that everybody can thrive. And also in that strategic plan, the tourism industry adopted those goals. So the strategic plan was adopted, then COVID hit, and then Hawaii's tourism leader departed his post in June. And after that, a kama'aina of Hawaii Island applied to and was selected for the post. It's Mr. John DeFries, who's been a resident of Kona for about 30 years. And what he brought with him to the post was the value of malama. Malama ku'uhome, or caring for my beloved home. And so looking at tourism strategic plan, 3/4 of it is about taking care of Hawaii, to malama Hawaii. Only 1/4 of it is what one would expect the tourism authority to do. And then add to that the layer of a global pandemic shifting everything, and the understanding that we must malama our place and each other, it became much more real. And so malama became the organizing principle for Hawaii Tourism Authority's work. And so within this vision, this idea of malama, we find Malama Honua, the voyage that had launched 6 years ago, the Malama mandate of the Aloha Plus Challenge, and more recently, the Malama Hawaii initiative, where visitors can earn an extra free night at their hotel for participating in activities that help to Malama Hawaii. And so all of this came from a vision, from a clear vision 50 years ago, that we need to malama. And so malama ku'uhome becomes a mindset and a call to action. So back to where we started, I Ke Aloha. When we approach issues with a clear vision and focus, grounded in aloha for the people and places affected by the issue, we can express our values and concerns in a productive way. And folks like Ikahi Mediation Center doing wonderful work. Just last fiscal year, over 400 mediation cases were served by 40 professionally trained volunteer mediators. And nearly 1,000 participants were served in the center's educational activities, much like tonight's event. And we see folks like Rotary with the Peace Pole project that that Charlene was sharing about. This is all about setting that clear vision. What we're searching for is peace. May there be peace in our community. And although it may look a little bit different, now we have masks, we don't stand this close to one another, we still hold this hope together that peace will prevail on earth. That's the clear vision. And so I come back again to the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, that people fail to get along because they fear each other because they don't know each other, and don't know each other because they've not communicated with each other. And at the end of the day, to truly understand another person's perspective, we must first breathe the same air. Because when we approach issues with a clear vision and focus, we can express our values and concerns in a productive way. I Ke Aloha. Mahalo nui. At this point, if anyone has any questions or wants to bring anything up, please unmute yourself and go ahead and share that. I'm going to figure out how to stop this screen share. Okay. Anybody have any mana'o they'd like to share?
Aloha, Ilihia, it's Kanani.
Hey, aloha Kanani.
Hui. Aloha, my Kakou. Hi, everybody. I'm calling in from my place of exercise at Hilo Lagoon Center in the pool. And so I'm just really grateful for your presentation, because I really feel a resonance to that value of malama and aloha, and clear, resounding, deep messaging that I think a lot of us are feeling, that the old ways of how we used to do what we do are changing, especially in this COVID environment, but also in our economy and in the way that we take care of our resources. And for our leaders to be calling in these new models and relying on the, standing on the shoulders of the ones who have called for this change long ago. That, we all need to do our part in talking with our community, with our families, with our keiki and our haumana, our students, to talk about new models of economy, way more sustainable, way more respectful and caring of our natural resources in all the different kinds of transactions that happen, especially taking care of the people, the host of this aina and the place where malama was first uttered, here in Hawaii. So I just strongly resonate. I'm here with you. Mahalo nui loa for all the work that you do.
Mahalo ya oi Kanani. Mahalo for taking a break from the pool to join us.
It's a beautiful night with the stars out.
Awesome. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share, or any questions?
Ilihia, I'd love to share something. How are you, bro?
Hey, aloha, Benson.
Good to see you again, man. It seems like I see you every day, but
hey, July.
Not much. But yeah, I just wanted to comment that on our screen here we have a lot of Rotarians on the screen, and one of the things that we're challenged as Rotarians now is that we've had to go to Zoom meetings now. We can't see each other in person, and that's been super challenging. And trying to keep 1,500 Rotarians across the state together. And ultimately, what it comes down to, and you have some real experts on the screen over here, is exactly what you said in your presentation. We have to talk to each other. I mean, email's not good enough, text message is not good enough. And you gotta pick the, I mean, now you can't really see each other in person, but you got to pick up the phone. And so, you know, that is one of the things I like honor about a lot of these people that I'm seeing today is that Charlene, especially, she has something on her mind, man. She can call me up and we're going to talk story about that, which is awesome. And so I think now in this COVID time where everything is changing so much and we've been sort of relegated to this, you know, electronic relationship with people, just hearing somebody's voice is really important. I mean, I think this Zoom meetings stuff is really great. It's better than not seeing somebody or not hearing somebody, but for us to get along and to move forward, man, there's nothing like just calling up somebody straight up and just saying, hey, man, how you doing? Long time I never hear your voice. I mean, today I had lunch with somebody, one of my best friends. I haven't seen him in a year because of all this stuff was going down. And, you know, even though we did all our social distancing and stuff, man, I just was thinking, wow, how awesome it is to like be in front of a real person, you know, and just, you know, cook off a little bit. So, yeah, very timely about your presentation, and it really doesn't matter which side of the issue you're on. You know, gotta have that ball out to make it go. Yeah, that story. Definitely. So, yeah, awesome. So mahalo, bro, for your presentation.
Oh, mahalo yaoi.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else?
Ilihia.
Aloha.
Aloha. I'm Alan Okinaka. You know, I'm constantly trying to find little stories that can keep me in check and help others to you know, not to get fly off the handle. And you know, the stories I've gathered, if I can share one story, is that at one time when I was consulting to the Department of Education, I wanted to find out what Ike Hawaii was. So we gathered about 30 people from Waimea, and we, you know, that church where the cherry blossom trees are, there's a church in a, and the meeting was really good. It was really a really good meeting, and I got to understand where the Hawaiian mind is when it comes to education. But the thing that really struck me hard, and I've kept that with me for all these years, and I've shared with a lot of people, is that when we had dinner that night, the guy who prepared the food introduced us to the food, or he introduced the food to us. And he said, this opai came from a little river by Maluhia on Maui. And this potato you're gonna eat came from Molokai. The poi came from Waipio. And he went on and on and on like that. And you know, just having that brought everybody together. And the food wasn't so much whether it was good or tasty or not, but it was important. The food was important to us because it kind of brought us together. So I'm trying to find all these little stories like that. And I think that's one of the ways that we can bring people together. When they can, you know, simple stories that, you know, when you're at home, maybe you can tell your family, hey, today we have this lettuce. It came from Manoa. I mean, Manoa lettuce, but it came from Waimea someplace, you know, that kind of thing. And, you know, you develop this connection with food or the land, how important it is for the food to grow and all that. So that's the kind of things I'm trying to develop in my mind, in that effort to have understanding between people and avoiding conflict. Because one of the things for sure is that peace is not the absence of conflict. It is not an absence of conflict. And so we got to look at it from that point of view. So anyway, mahalo.
Well, mahalo to you. Alan, what's your either your phone number or your email in case anybody has stories like that that they would like to share with you.
Oh, okay. It's aokinaka at, well, hawaiiantel.net.
Yeah. Okinaka at hawaiiantel.net. If I could share one quick one.
Sure.
On the topic of food. You know, as board chair of Hawaii Island United Way, this is, I'm in my 3rd year now. And so during my 10 years chair, we've experienced the 2018 eruptions in Puna and now COVID. And it's been unbelievably inspiring to see how community has come together to help one another. And during COVID, a lot of what we're seeing is related to food in some way or another. And so Hawaii Island United Way stood up the Hawaii Island Recovery Fund, which funded what we call the Eleu grants, which are grants of $2,500 or less, 1-page application, 1-page report, rapid deployment of resources to the front lines of community response. And so a lot of the recipients of that grant have done food things. And so just hearing the stories of, you know, folks going out, making care packages for kupuna who couldn't otherwise get to the store safely, getting that to them. Things like HCEOC delivering groceries to homebound seniors in Kakou, which we know that rural areas like that, it's even harder. Hearing things like one project in Pa'awilo sourced the food for their food distributions all from within the area. And so farmers and ranchers in the area contributed their food to go into these boxes to be distributed to families. And so we're seeing this almost reinvention of food systems in this crisis time, and it's bringing folks together. So that's been really inspirational to see. So mahalo to you, Alan, for bringing up food.
I have a kind of a quick story. I have a quick story to share with you, Alan. When we do ceremonies after gatherings with like for leadership or just problem solving and things like that, we actually partake in foods that are embodiments of our gods, which also are representative of strong values that are Hawaiian based. So like kalo, we eat the kalo because it's symbolic of our older brother. And so it helps us to remember our connection to each other and taking care of each other. And then we eat ulu because ulu means to grow. So we're always looking for opportunities to grow. We also partake in sweet potato. Sweet potato is uwala in Hawaiian. And u is also, if you break down the word, it's the breast milk, u or vayu. Ala is to awaken. It also means to smell a fragrant scent. So it could be to awaken to new realities, to look back to your source where you fill your cup and look for new ways to inspire yourself and connect back to who you are, where you come from. So yeah, there's lots of stories. I'll share more with you in how we use it in ceremony. But what a great insight. Mahalo.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think that's the kind of stories we need to share with people so that they have a greater connection with the land. Because you cannot take care of the land if you don't have that connection. You got to have that. I used to, I don't do it 3 times a year anymore, but I used to do 3 times a year. I would hike to Lake Waiau and just, you know, holo. And Kimo, I forgot his last name now. Kimo Pihana, is that him? He used to be
Yes, Pihana, yes.
He always finds me, and we would sit down for about an hour and a half, talk story. But the thing is, in all that time, it is a very special place. But I developed a story that right now, I believe that our telescopes are canoes, you know, like the canoes that was put in the ocean so that the people in South Pacific said, hey, what's beyond that horizon? And they jump in a canoe, leave all their friends, their safety of their homes and everything, and they sailed, and they didn't know where they're going actually, but they found Hawaii Islands. Well, the telescope, just like canoes, you know, the guys are asking the same question, wait, what's out there? And so it comes down to the curiosity of people. And that's something we cannot kill that. You know, we got to keep our young people curious. You got to keep on asking a question, why, what, how, you know, all that. And I think that creates a healthy mind, and it works towards, again, mahalo.
Mahalo, Alan. Anybody else like to share? I know we're coming up on the end of our time, and Majida, at any point, if you need to take this back, feel free, but just want to give folks the opportunity to share.
I want to
yes,
ask
Charlene.
a question. Yeah, not to share, just a question. Because I've heard some people who feel excluded because they're not Hawaiian. How would you share with them? You know, because they have strong beliefs, they have good values, very common to a lot of Hawaiian values, but they're afraid to even say anything anymore because they'll be considered as, you cannot understand. You're not the host culture, even though if their family's been 3-4 generations here. So how do you express that diversity is accepted, even if you're not Hawaiian?
That's a great question, Charlene, and probably exceeds the 11 minutes that we have left in this session. I would say this. It's very rare that you meet a pure Hawaiian today. And that is the result of people who have been accepting of other viewpoints, other cultures, other value systems, and engage them and embrace them. And so there's definitely precedent for it. I haven't myself experienced that in a big way where, you know, I've seen folks being rejected, you know, because of their own origin. Folks who exhibit a genuine curiosity about things. I think there's a natural instinct to share, right? To share the stories, to share the values, you know, share the songs, share the chants, and share this place. There's definitely that's almost the default, if you will. And surely there are examples when that has not happened, but that's probably beyond the scope of the time we have left together. But I would just say that yeah, there's definitely a desire to share. Mahalo for that, Shirley. Anybody else have any manao?
Can you tell people your experience with youth builders?
Sure. Thank you for asking, Charlene. So when I was in high school, about 20 years ago now.
Oh, geez.
And I'm so sorry, Charlene. Is the program continuing? Still on?
It's a little different. It's a little different. Or maybe,
okay.
Well, yeah. But they have something like it, but it's not the same, I think.
Okay, and Tim, maybe you can share about that after. But 20 years ago, there was a program called Youth Builders, run out of the prosecutor's office. And it was an effort to get young people involved in good things so they did not get involved in bad things, would be my summary.
Yeah.
And, strategies for juvenile justice is a fancy word. And so I was a part of that during my high school times. I attended Navahi, which is a very small school. My graduating class, I was one of 7. But participating in Youth Builders was one way that I got to know some more young folks from different schools around town. So it was a very positive experience. And Charlene is probably waiting for me to tell you some other famous alumni of the program. Just in my graduating year alone, we had County Councilwoman Ashley Kirkowitz and our newly elected prosecutor, Keldon Walchen. So those are some of the kinds of success stories that came out of the hard work that Charlene and many others did in the prosecutor's office to look for these alternative ways to keep folks out of trouble. So mahalo to you, Charlene, for that. And Tim, you want to share anything about what that is now?
No, we're good.
Okay.
By the way, it wasn't me. It was the community wanted to see something that would be helpful to lift the youth, so there'd be alternatives to, in positive ways to express themselves, and had projects as well. So I didn't know that until I was talking to him last week. So that's why I wanted to share that with everybody.
Good times.
Yeah, nice
And
times.
Charlene looks same,
Oh, liar, pants on fire.
Yeah, you're right. You look better.
So if we could, because we're ending about the end of time here. So we have a short workshop evaluation that we have as a poll. So for the folks that are in here, if you can go ahead, it's gonna pop up on your screen, the workshop evaluation, really short. If you could just go ahead and answer those questions, that helps us. That helps us kind of know, where we're at and what we want to, how we're doing. If you folks have even been here before, because like I said, this is our 5th year. So if you could answer those, I'd appreciate it. And then
I see everybody popping in. We have 10 answers so far.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for doing that. And then there was a couple of comments from Elizabeth Green. I don't know if she, while everyone is taking the poll, if she wanted to say something. She was making comments in the chat box. Nope. Okay, that's fine.
This is Kanani again. I just wanted to share that, that diversity question in Ho'oponopono, our conflict resolution process here. One of the founding principles that all need to agree on when we're engaging in Ho'oponopono is that there is aloha for each person in the circle. And so I think that when it's a difficult or uncomfortable situation, the facilitation, if we can focus on aloha and that common ground and what we love about our shared space here, and then move from there, maybe there we can expand common ground together on the concepts of aloha, of malama, and how we share those feelings and for what in our places that we live and work and play. Just suggestions for you, Charlene.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, thank you. If you can hear me, yes, thank you.
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Appreciate it. I think we're all learning. That's why we have these presentations, so we can share and learn. And for those of you, I'm trying to figure out a way to share the different photos if anybody didn't see them earlier. So I wanted to do that if possible with a couple minutes, if anybody is interested, because we did install several peace poles even during COVID. And one is at the Volcano Art Center, and the other one was at Punakai. So in places that were very hard. Yeah.
Before you go there real quick, we do have 3 KTA gift cards to give away.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
and without telling anybody, I'm going to give them to the first 3 people who who had mana'o to share. So congratulations to Kanani, Benson, and Alan.
All righty. Yeah. Yeah, this is from Community First donated that. That's the nonprofit that Barry Taniguchi started. So I know how to get it to Alan, Benson, Kanani. Maybe if you can let me know if you want me to mail it to you, how to get it to you. That'd be perfect.
Yeah, Charlene, I can connect you via email.
Okay, great.
Well,
Perfect.
unless
Perfect.
Kanani going to put them in the chat now.
No need to. You can just give
Okay.
it to me. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it's
And as a
wonderful.
bonus, Charlene going to come shopping with you.
No, the bonus is I won't come shopping with you. No.
Hey, Charlene.
Yes.
I'd like to donate that card to Ikahi and have them use that for refreshments whenever they have any kind of mediation or something.
Oh, nice. Okay. You're too kind. Okay. I'm sure they will accept it.
And Charlene going shopping with them.
Yeah, I might. Yes.
Well, thank you, Alan, for that, and congratulations, Kanani and Benson. And then, so we're coming to the end of our time. Is there any kind of last comments, or I see Nancy has her hand raised.
Well, I'd like to, I recognize a number of the people on the screens that are Rotarians, and thank you. You are one of 38,000 around the world. And so that's fostering peace all over. But I'd like to encourage other people to consider joining in one of our Rotary clubs. There's 5 of us on the clubs on the East Hawaii. So there's a club and in place, and almost all of them are on Zoom now. But it's wonderful because I've even known people that have literally traveled around the world and visited Rotarians, made arrangements to stay in their homes and everything as they travel around the world. So it's a fabulous organization because it has done, like, we're that close to eliminating polio around the world. It can do something that no country could ever do. And at the same time, you're able to pick your favorite project down the street and help that good cause. So make some huge organization like Rotary your organization to affect the change that you want in your own community and world. So recommend it highly. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Oh, that's really good though. And there's Doug.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks. I just wanted to thank the team for putting this together, and to thank T for the presentation that he had and did. I think that when we talk about Malama, obviously respect and dignity for all is a part of that. There's another piece, and everybody here actually is part of this, and that's the leadership aspect. It's when we face or we see that someone is facing perhaps a situation where they're concerned about not being allowed into the conversation. And that's when we have the opportunity and to some degree the responsibility, dare I say the kuleana, to actually open those doors up, right? Make those things available for the folks that may not feel like it's open to them. And I think that everybody here has that capability and that capacity to do that. And so I would just encourage us to remember that we are leaders in this process, and to take that leadership, to commit to that leadership, right? I have a little saying that I actually, I think I made it up, which was dreams are the spark, but commitment is the flame. And so we commit to the things that are important, to the Malama that T was talking about, that the Let's Talk It Out series is all about. Thanks.
Thank you. Hey, that's a theme for next year then. All righty.
Yeah, there we go.
Hey, got one already. Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for attending. And you'll see these peace polls all mapped. And if anybody has any expertise or those who might have the talent to put an app together, let us know so that we'll have it available for those who might want to go on a peace poll pilgrimage and see all the 20, maybe 20 polls on this island now. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ilihia, Charlene, Tim, for all the folks who contributed in the conversation. We really appreciate you being here. So thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Charlene, if you wanted to do share screen again and run your slides for anybody that wants to stick around, but otherwise we'll wish everyone a wonderful evening.
Yeah, but then you can see where